Rainy days make me want to do a book haul. You know? Book haul, yes. Alright. Sure. Oh, wow! Somebody already turned this camera on. Having some coffee at 8 o'clock at night. Alright. Yeah, wow. Rain, and more rain. Rain, go away. Don't come back till... Come back here some other day. That's not my phrase. My phrase is... Rain, yay! That's the whole thing. So, yeah, so it's 8 o'clock on a Tuesday. David is out of town. He is in China again, so that's cool. So I was looking through my spreadsheet, my bookish spreadsheet, which has grown into this monster, and I realized I had this column for whether or not a book had been mentioned in a video before. There are some that I bought, I think as long ago as 2021, 2022. I could make that video at some point, but we're not going to do that today. I just wanted to talk about a few of the books that I bought this year, so I'm going to do that. And if you're watching this, then you're gonna watch that. I feel like the camera... Okay, yeah. Anyway, I just want to tell you about some of the books I bought in 2025. No biggie. These are not in chronological order, though, so don't be expecting that. I just got a copy of At Bertram's Hotel, the Miss Marple mystery from Agatha Christie. This is the 10th Miss Marple. This is the first Marple I ever read. I listened to an audiobook read by Stephanie Cole in a big U-Haul truck when my family was moving out here from California, and I went out there to help them move. Really enjoyed it, but didn't finish it. And then eventually later finished it, and now I think I've read it a couple times. But I've never read any Agatha Christie like with my eyes. It's always been audiobooks. But when I was in New York in February, David and I were visiting some friends, and she had posted a picture of herself in this really neat bookstore on the Upper East Side, I believe. No, it must be the West Side, because the name of the bookstore is the West Sider. Yeah, West Sider Rare and Used Books in NYC. It was really, really cute. It's one of those really nice, dusty, old, kind of small, cramped, overstocked bookstores. It's used in rare books, and that to me is like the vibe. There's also like a rickety staircase that goes into the back. I'm really selling it. Well, it's not like unsafe. It's a staircase. Anyway, it's a kind of smallish little bookish hole in the wall where you can find old treasures, and it was really charming. So I wanted to leave with something, and I bought this. This is now the first Agatha Christie book I've ever owned on paper. And I believe this was the first paperback printing of At Bertram's Hotel. December 1967, first paperback printing. And it came with this little note in the front of it. I don't know what that means. I guess that's maybe a word they wanted to look up, but there's also writing up here. Anyway, I think that's kind of fun. It's not in amazing shape, but it's not in really bad shape either. And it's really yellowed. So it has that great library smell to it, which I love. One of my best friends in the world's name is Bert. He's actually going to be the best man at my wedding. And I call him Bertram sometimes, just to be silly. And I did that even before I ever heard of this book. So I think that's part of the reason why I was like, that's the one. And there are a couple other books here that I got that I have actually read before. I got a Penguin Classics paperback, trade paperback of Scarlet Letter, which I read for the first time like maybe 2-3 years ago. Actually loved that book, and I thought, wow, I should have a copy of that on my shelf. It's a thing I do when I love a book and I read it on my Kindle, but I don't have it on my shelf. I feel like, well, it's not represented visually. I need to be able to look at it and say, oh yeah, remember that book? Like, for instance, What We Did by Christabel Kent. It's got a really nice linen-y cover and a great cover artwork, and I loved that book. I actually read that during that same trip to California. It's nice to have the books on the shelf, is what I'm saying. And then you can lend them to friends. And then those friends can give them back to you. So anyway, I got a copy of this. I also got a copy of another Nathaniel Hawthorne book, which I guess is in a similar vein in terms of being like gothic, and which I have never read. House of the Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I don't really know what this is about, but I know from a video by Kendra Gaylord, whose video I will link below because I think she's really, really neat. She talks a lot about architecture, and she was talking about the house that this was inspired by. It's really interesting how the people who own the house, or the historical society who owns the house, has actually modified, restored the house to make it more closely match how it's depicted in this book, because it was modernized a little bit on the outside, and then they like unmodernized it. And it sort of inspired all creepy haunted houses going forward. It's a really cool, and I think it's in Salem. And if it is in Salem, then I may have seen that house, because I took a ghost tour of Salem and we saw a bunch of old stuff. Anyway, I don't know what this is about, so why don't we read the back? It says, it's an enduring novel, so that's good, of crime and retribution, reflects the social and moral values of New England in the 1840s. I don't want to live in a land governed by the moral values of New England in the 1840s. Oh, Philip is going to jump up here now. Okay. Nathaniel Hawthorne's gripping psychological drama concerns the Pyncheon family, Pyncheon, a dynasty founded on a pious theft, who lived for generations under a dead man's curse until their house is finally exorcised by love. Nathaniel Hawthorne was related to one of the judges involved in the Salem witch trials, and so he had all this like pent-up guilt about his family's involvement, and that's kind of partially what inspired this book. So I'm intrigued because of how much I loved The Scarlet Letter, which was a surprise to me. Oh, I got another, I'm not going to talk about this for a long time, but I got a hardcover version of Hester by Laurie, Lico, Albanese. This is related because it's a historical fiction dealing with a woman who meets and sort of falls in love with Nathaniel Hawthorne, while the idea for The Scarlet Letter and the character of Hester Prynne is kind of like germinating in his mind. And it's witchy, kind of, and magical realism-y, and historical, and so good. I think I gave this book 4 stars a long time ago when I read it. I highly recommend it. I think it's got a beautiful cover. Again, a book I love that I'm putting on the shelf so I can look at it and smile. So I also bought this. This is Night Shift. Mass market paperback new copy of Night Shift by Stephen King. It is a short story anthology. It's his first published short story anthology. We see mutated rats gone bad in a story called Graveyard Shift, a cataclysmic virus that threatens humanity in a story called Night Surf, the basis for The Stand, a smoker who will try anything to stop, Quitters Inc., a reclusive alcoholic who begins a gruesome transformation in Grey Matter, and many more. This is Stephen King at his horrifying best. Chicago Tribune said, eerie ought to chill the cockles of many a heart. What? Chill the cockles? I like stories. You know? This will be a good, fun time to read. This is actually, I sort of am out of order. I've been reading Stephen King in order. I read Carrie, and then Salem's Lot, The Shining, Rage, and then The Stand. But I think I was supposed to read this collection before The Stand, but it was not listed in between those books because it was on a different list, because it's not a novel. So I didn't read it when I should have read it. I'm kind of trying this thing where I make binge reading vlogs when I read Stephen King books, and we'll see how that goes going forward. There's one for The Shining and there's one for The Stand. They are forthcoming, and they take a long time to do, but they're fun. Let's see how I've skipped around on my list, because I did make a list. Oh yeah, okay. Where is it? Oh, I know where it is. Whew, that was a lot of work. So far, these have all been physical books, and I bought a copy, and then I threw it on the floor. I bought a copy of this very silly cozy mystery called Murder by Cheesecake. That's all you need to know. It was cute and fun. And there's a vlog about it that I made that will probably come out soon. I bought this and I read this on my Kindle, and then I thought it was cute, and it's going to be a series, so I decided I should have it on the shelf, so here it is. Got this at Barnes & Noble. I went in there because I was armed with a gift card, picked a bunch of stuff out, and then realized I did not have the gift card with me, so paid for them. There are so many physical books in here, it's really weird. Normally my book hauls, when I used to do them, were all ebooks, and there are some of those, but the next book is also physical. Dracula. This is a Barnes & Noble clothbound edition of Dracula, and it took me a long time before I realized this little pattern. There are teeth for Dracula. Yes, Dracula. It's Dracula by Bram Stoker. It's printed really nicely, and it's got bloody, or at least red, crucify on the edges, and it's got a ribbon. Oh, I just noticed too, every other crucifix is facing down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Satanic! Evil, bad, ban this book! No, don't. I like that the end papers are black. So, I need to reread Dracula with my eyes at some point soon. I've listened to the audiobook several times, but I haven't read the book with my eyes in a long time, and I'd like to do that. I'm basically starting a collection of editions of Dracula at this point, and this is one of them. Let's see. I did buy a copy of The Stand. I bought this while I was reading this book. I was partway through the book reading it on my Kindle, and I decided I wanted to be able to switch back and forth because it's such a long book that I thought the variety would be nice, and it was. Yeah, I got this on Abe Books. It's very used. The spine is, kind of crazy looking, but I kind of like that in a way. And The Stand is The Stand. If you don't know The Stand, it's basically about an escaped biological test situation that results in a pandemic. Well, I don't remember if it's stated that it's worldwide. But basically, you spend a lot of time getting to know all of these people as the virus slowly gets out and starts killing people. It's a flu-like virus. 99% of people are dead, and then they have to all start coming together, and they come together in two factions that are opposed to one another. One of them following Mother Abigail, the benevolent 108-year-old woman who urges them to build a community in Boulder, Colorado. She comes to people in their dreams, too. Like, everybody who's alive, they start having dreams of either her or the other guy, and then they sort of seek them out, knowing where to go somehow magically. The other guy is named Randall Flagg. He's also called the Dark Man, who delights in chaos and violence. It's just like a life-changing, really long, 1,400-page epic of good and evil and human nature and stuff. It reminded me a lot of The Passage by Justin Cronin, but that, of course, is backwards because this came first. And this is the uncut and complete edition, or the complete and uncut edition, the re-release of the book that came out in 1990, which restored hundreds and hundreds of pages. And I compared a list somebody compiled a list of all of the plot elements that took place in this longer version that did not take place in the original version, and I was stunned. You have to read the longer version, because the characters, they have major, defining moments, I think, for their characters that only take place in the longer version. So, I really liked The Stand, but this is not a wrap-up or review. I just wanted you to know that I bought a copy of it on mass market paperback from Abe Books, used. Okay? So now you know. And that's what this is about. So, also from Abe Books, The Dead Zone by Stephen King. This is... Where am I in this? I don't know what's next for me. So, there's The Long Walk. I'm starting to spiral a little bit. The Dead Zone by Stephen King. I also got this on Abe Books, used. Now, this book has a blurb, and it's very short, and I'll read it to you. It says, "Awake in the dead zone and awake to a nightmare. Recoil in horror as you are touched by a young man cursed with the ability to perceive the evil in men's souls, and whose ability to see into the future forces him into a terrifying confrontation with a charismatic, power-hungry, and infinitely dangerous man." Now, that's what the back of the book says. But the blurb that I found says, "Waking up from a 5-year coma after a car accident, former school teacher Johnny Smith," what a name, "discovers that he can see people's futures and pasts when he touches them. Many consider his talent a gift. Johnny feels cursed. His fiancée married another man during his coma, and people are constantly clamoring for him to solve their problems. He has a disturbing vision after he shakes the hand of an ambitious and amoral politician, and he must decide if he should take drastic action to change the future." That should be a good time. It's not super long. This paperback is 470 pages. Another physical book by Stephen King, and it is Firestarter. Now, this is a short little book. I got this on Abe Books. I paid like $15 for it. It's in pretty good shape. It's the original paperback printing. It came in this white version and then a black version where the text is inverted, of course. "You are about to meet the sweetest, most irresistible little girl you've ever known. 8-year-old Charlie McGee. She's everything that a proud father like Andy McGee could want, and all that he can fear. For Charlie was born with the most destructive power a human being has ever commanded. And somehow, she must be saved from both herself and from those in high places who want to use her as a weapon." But yeah, so she has the ability to conjure fire. She's got pyrokinesis, which seems really silly, but this book also reminds me of Carrie, just in the way it's described. A young, innocent young woman possessed of this scary power. There's a little bit of a trope there of women not being able to control great power and therefore can't be trusted with it because they will inadvertently kill someone if they become too emotional. And I would not be surprised if this does that. We'll see. And it's from 1980. Yeah, and this edition was printed in August of 1981. August of 1891. You guys, Stephen King is really actually a vampire. That is the last physical book that I have. I do have some ebooks I wanted to mention just quickly. Hunter's Heart Ridge by Sarah Stewart Taylor. I read Agony Hill. It was a NetGalley read for me about 1960s. And there's a guy who moves to a small town and has to investigate a murder. And there's a woman living next door who used to be like a spy or something. So he's solving this kind of perplexing murder. And she sort of weighs in a little bit here and there. And it's basically set in this small town where things move slowly, and I loved how it was written, and I had a great time reading it. So this is book 2 in the same series. It's November of 1965, and the second weekend of Vermont's regular deer season, when Vermont State Police Detective Franklin Warren is called out to what looks like an accidental shooting at the Ridge Club. With the war in Vietnam picking up speed on the other side of the world, he quickly realizes that many of the club's members are powerful men. While Warren's suspicions about the club members build, his neighbor Alice Bellows is throwing a dinner party. When Alice's old handler and friend Arthur Cranach unexpectedly shows up in Bethany, Alice begins to wonder whether his presence has anything to do with the death at the hunting club. As an early season snowstorm bears down on Bethany, knocking out power and phone lines and blocking the roads, Warren and his assistant, Trooper Pinky Goodrich, are trapped at the Ridge Club, likely along with the killer and Alice, increasingly fearful that her past in the intelligence world is no longer in the past, and will have to act fast to save Sylvie and her baby. So it's in the same small town, it's set in the 60s, and there's a closed circle trope going on, and a snowstorm going on. Cool. I'll read that in like November, in the winter times. I'm going to talk about one more book that I bought. This is called Lone Women by Victor LaValle. And now, I read The Changeling and The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle. I'm a fan of this author. And this is a newish book. It came out, this is when this was published. Right there. The year is 1915, and Adelaide is in trouble. Her secret sin killed her parents, forcing her to flee California and hellfire. So basically, this is the story of a young woman in 1915 who runs away from home with some, quote, secret sin that she's running from in her past, and a suitcase that she will not leave. She drags the trunk everywhere, and she is going out to Montana to be a homesteader. And they called the women who did this lone women. Except that Adelaide isn't alone, and the secret she's tried so desperately to lock away might be the only thing that will help her survive the harsh territory. So she's going out to be a homesteader in Montana. She's got a dark secret in her past, and a heavy suitcase that she's carrying around. She's hoping that her secret doesn't come out, and I imagine that it will. And she's not alone. And it was written by Victor LaValle, so that's all I need to know. Okay, there is one more. I also I also got an ebook, Voice Like a Hyacinth by Mallory Pearson. This is a horror fantasy novel. It's queer, it's witchy. Yeah, there's a friend group. They are so close that they have their own language, and they're so devoted to their craft, that they'll do anything to keep their inspiration alive, even if it means naively resorting to the occult to unlock their creativity, and to curse their esteemed, if notoriously creepy, professor. And then there's the aftermath. Blah, 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 obsessive friends, there may be no turning back. They soon learn the horrible price to be paid for such a transgressive ritual. Cool. It's a young friend group. It's probably sapphic and queer and witchy, and I'm super into that. That sounds really, really fun, and I want to support queer authors whenever I can, so although this was a first reads, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to talk about it here, and recommend it to you if I like it. So those are the books that I hauled in 2025 that I thought you might be interested in. So many of them are physical paper books, which is shocking to me. I am definitely veering towards horror more than anything these days. I do love a cozy. I am the Murder, She Wrote novel guy, and I bought a bunch of those too. Okay, because I always have to have one. If my reading is suffering, I just pick up a Murder, She Wrote, because they are so easy to read. They're like 250 pages at max. Familiar characters and easy to get through. So I do have a relationship with cozy mysteries, which is why I was excited about the Golden Girls series. Although right now, I am about 65% of the way through Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward, which has been on my list for a long time, and I did just drink coffee at 8:30, so we'll finish that tonight. It's really, really good. It's really, really dark. It's tough, but her writing is so beautiful. Every once in a while, I need a palate cleanser, and I will read something that is not horror. Coffee. Why am I drinking coffee at this hour? There is not a good answer to that question. But primarily right now, I think what I'm inspired by and having excited about and having a good time reading, some of my favorite books the last couple of years have been horror. So I'm kind of going in that direction, and I'm trying to read everything Stephen King ever wrote, which is going to take me a lifetime, which means I'll never run out of content. That's it. Those are the books that Really? I'm being attacked by bugs. I live in filth. No, I don't. I would have Philip say goodbye to you, but he's asleep. He's all curled up like a little cinnamon roll, and it would be sad to wake him up. It's raining again. I'm hearing the thunder roll. We are on a flood warning. The rain never stops. So it should be a good night for reading, and I thank you for being here for this very impromptu and old school book haul video. Thank you for watching this video if you did, and if you didn't, you're not here. Let me know if you enjoy this kind of content. I have not sat in front of a bookcase and talked to you about stuff that I bought or stuff that I would like to read in a long time. If you enjoyed it, I thank you for being here. Hit the like button. It helps me out mentally and emotionally, and it helps YouTube to know that I have value as a human being. I'm gonna wrap this up because I keep talking. If you did make it all the way through this video, you should comment something about candles, because I just bought a bunch of candles because they have Halloween stuff in the stores already. They had them as early as July 11th, which is nuts. And until next time, I will be here in the dark, reading. Goodbye. And that's that.